here. We live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another episode of the Extraordinary Exchange Podcast. I'm your co-host, Nate Bennett.
This case, we got a special guest today. Special guest. Make me want breakfast for dinner. Makes me want breakfast for dinner.
Make you want breakfast for dinner. Absolutely. But again, we got another illustrious guest. This young lady is... we've got to know her over the last few years, has done some consulting with E.I.G. And EBS because she has a background in that as well. She's someone who's a Renaissance woman, has wore a bunch of different hats, not just in her entrepreneurial journey, but even prior to launching the number one Black-owned gourmet pancake and waffle mix, Vicky Cakes. I don't have my bag right here. I got to run upstairs to get my bag. Bunch of us in the investment group are fans of y'all, not just from a product standpoint, but you and your husband, your entrepreneurial journey is very inspirational. Y'all are very transparent. But yeah, without further ado, I want to introduce the world to the entrepreneur formerly known as Dainty C, Ms. Christian Sargent. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you so much. Yes, to the horns. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk tonight, share, and just give some information on this space and beyond to help aspiring entrepreneurs, current entrepreneurs, and those who may be entrepreneurial adjacent. The hustlers. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a difference. Maybe we get into that. But if you may be entrepreneurial adjacent and you're just keeping it going right now until you figure out your purpose and what you're meant to do and you hustling. Thank you. I look forward to having this conversation tonight.
You got some people already doing some introspection, like, man, am I an entrepreneur or am I entrepreneur adjacent? Which one is it? Y'all will figure it out in the podcast, though. But yeah, just please tell the world who you are, about your brand, and introduce.
Okay, for sure. So I am the CEO and the co-founder of Vicky Cakes, Pancake and Waffle Mix. I am a wife of 14 years. As of yesterday, we literally just celebrated our 14th wedding anniversary yesterday. A mother of two little ones. I just heard them come in from being with their friends. So I hope they finna wash their hands and take baths. But two little kids doing the mom thing, the wife thing, and the entrepreneurial thing. And I am just so excited and so proud of what my husband and I have been able to build in just really 3 years. We're coming up on our 4th year anniversary in May. But Vicky Cakes is the brainchild of good food, family values, really making something out of nothing and putting a lot of heart and soul into that. I think that a lot of people think when we hear soul food as Black people, like for the culture, we think of greens and, roast and ribs and macaroni and cheese and sweet potatoes. But soul food is really anything that feeds your soul, anything that makes you feel good, that brings back the nostalgic memories and the feelings that you used to have with your family, your friends, your loved ones. That's what soul food is. Anything that makes you feel good when you're engaging in it and you're able to share with people you love and you trust and you honor and you respect. And so Vicky Cakes is all of that. It's all of that in a bag, and it's all of that at the table. And we're just excited to be bringing families back to the table with what we love to call the heart of breakfast.
Absolutely. So, bringing families back to the table. So Vicky Cakes, a pancake mix, right? I would believe just by the name.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind, pancake mix. Why pancake mix?
Oh, beautiful, beautiful question. Yes. Why pancake mix? I mean, I would say it's kind of random, but it's not. It is one of those markets that's kind of under tapped for us in culture. Now, I'm just gonna say this: some other pancake mixes, Black owned, did exist before Vicky Cakes. However, when we stepped onto the scene, we made it very clear that we did not come to play with anyone else that was already on the field. Okay, we were coming to win from the jump. Vicky Cakes was inspired by my mother, Vicky. A lot of people think I'm Vicky sometimes, but Vicky is my mom. She is still alive and well. She is here with us today. And this is a tribute to her, to honor her as a single mother and all of the sacrifice that she poured into me and my siblings growing up. She's a native of Cleveland, Mississippi. She moved to Gary, Indiana when she was 19 years old after she graduated from high school in Cleveland. And her and my father met. They got married. started a family, right? I'm the youngest of 4, and they got divorced when I was 2 years old, and she became a single mother. So at that point, it really was, what a lot of us know and understand to be a statistic in the Black community, single motherhood, raising a family, by yourself. And she made the best of everything, no matter what it was that we had, what little it was, it always felt like abundance with her. That's just a gift that my mother has. She can turn a bed sheet into curtains. Okay. She really has that skill set. And with this recipe, it was no different. She used basic cabinet ingredients, your flour, your sugar, your baking powder. She took those and she mixed them up, and she created what we now know as Vicky Cakes. The funny thing about it is, it's something that my family and I have been enjoying for over 40 years. Even before I was born, it was already a recipe that she was feeding my older siblings. And so it really just became a staple. Like, we would get excited when we knew weekends were coming and we could smell the vanilla flavor. Like, we could smell it. We already knew what was happening. And we would be excited. And we, really did allow those moments to guide us through conversations and life lessons at the table and getting in trouble at the table. But it would be the beauty of me growing up and getting married and moving away in 2009. And once my husband found out about the recipe in 2013, because we were married at 21 and I wasn't cooking nothing from scratch. Okay? Nothing. There was nothing being cooked from scratch by me. I was definitely I was using Bisquick. And the funny thing about it is that I would buy Bisquick, but I would doctor it up so that it would taste like my mom's pancakes. And it's just so crazy to me now, because it's like, sis, why didn't you just use a recipe that was in your iPhone? I don't get it. But that was just not wanting to evolve, right? Thinking that it was more work than it really was, and not really like appreciating the goodness and the quality. But I'm not gonna lie, I was adding vanilla extract to Bisquick. I was adding buttermilk to Bisquick when it only called for water. I was trying to get that Vicky Cake effect. Even then. And it wouldn't be until 2013 when my husband and I would go back home to Indiana for Thanksgiving, where my mom would make them for us as a family. We were used to them, but my husband was not. He was the variable that changed the entire situation. He tasted them for the first time and he was completely, utterly shocked. Like, he was just like, what are y'all doing at this table? Like, y'all acting like this is normal. This is not normal food. So it was that love and that expression of appreciation for it, where he literally told my mom right then and there, he said, Miss Vicky, these are the best pancakes I've ever had. You all should be selling these, and they should be called Vicky Cakes. And we all laughed. We thought it was funny, in jest. My mom said, oh no, Courtney, I could never sell them. I would end up giving these away. And so ain't nobody in business for donations. Okay. We're not donating food. Now, we are making deposits, but we're not donating. Now, we can do that later on, but we didn't start a business at that point. I didn't have an entrepreneurial knack. No one in my family had been an entrepreneur. I didn't hear that word until I was 21. Nobody ever spoke of what entrepreneurship was around me. We just knew people owned this or did this or had that, but nobody ever used that terminology for it. And it wasn't until, marrying Courtney and him becoming an entrepreneur himself that I kind of got an idea of what it was. And from there, he just continued to fuel that, put fuel on that fire, and always coming back every 6 months and every year. Like, Christian, when you gonna stop playing to make these pancakes? Christian, when you gonna stop playing to get the people Vicky Cakes? Like, when we gonna pop this off? And I'll be like, wait a minute. Okay. It's my mama's recipe and I need you to back up. But he was just that excited about it. He believed in it. And it's that belief that was a seed, like his belief and his faith and his love of something that he saw, what all surrounded it. It was literally him, putting that in. He planted the seed at the table, and then he watered it every 6 months, every quarter, annually. He was coming back. Okay. And finally in 2019, it sprung up, and I finally got the vision that he had seen. I finally was able to understand it and connect with it and relate to it and how we would present it to the world. And that's when we decided to launch Vicky Cakes on Mother's Day of 2019. And we've been in the game ever since.
Awesome. That's super dope. Just like, you said at that point, you was like, man, just leave me alone about it. Just leave me alone about it. But the persistence and he's seen the vision, and it wasn't until you seen the vision and it had to come together. It had to be right. You know what I mean? You don't want to rush you don't want to rush something that's meant to be.
I love listening to stories, because in that alone, I don't know if anybody heard it, but you got so many gems just talking about belief, you overthinking something that was so simple, manifesting, watering that flower, and then it and coming to fruition afterwards is beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So you talked about being Black owned in that space. Talk about some of the challenges, Vicky Cakes has had, maybe not just being a Black owned, pancake, gourmet pancake and waffle mix company, but just some of the challenges you faced, launching the business and trying to scale the business.
Yeah. So for me, I would say the biggest challenge in the beginning was definitely sourcing the things that we needed in order to really mass produce. At the time, we didn't really know what it was to be a manufacturer. We didn't even know that was the name of it. I just knew I was making all the pancake mix in my kitchen at my house. Okay. I didn't know there was a legal, like a real term for that. Now you hear manufacturers, but you think of your larger facilities. You're thinking of what you may see if you Google or look up how something is made, and you see all these machines and all this, this metal and things like on conveyor belts or whatever. But as a manufacturer, it's just you being the one that produces and creates your product, whatever that is. That can be shirts, that can be shoes, that can be food. If you are producing it yourself and it's for a consumer, you are the manufacturer of it, who is the creator, who is the one that produces it and then presents it to the general public for consumption. And it's funny because at the time, Courtney was like gung-ho against being a manufacturer. He's like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I want us to grow and offload it to a co-packer, right? And in the beginning, I had already set forth in my mind and with my intentions that with this being a family recipe and it being, intellectual property, right? Like, because you cannot get a patent and you cannot trademark a recipe. So let me go ahead and drop that on y'all today. You cannot trademark a recipe or get a patent on that. That is intellectual property. So that's what NDAs are for, right? That's what you're protecting and safeguarding yourself against when you're sharing your information with other people. And someone say, oh yeah, I can make this for you and get this many products made in a shorter time. Make them sign something. Because if they pop out with the same thing that you hired them to do, that's when you just roll out a good old lawsuit. Because what we're not going to do is play with my mama's recipe. So I knew that I wanted to be a manufacturer for quality control. I wanted to be able to always understand the QC element of it all. What happened with this batch, right? Because if you start using co-packers and manufacturers that are extensions of your brand, if something goes wrong with their conveyor belts or any of that, that's when you have recalls on your lap. And they're not going to look at the manufacturer. They're going to look at you.
Absolutely.
You're going to be liable for that. Your insurance is going to get knocked on the door for you to compensate. And so I never wanted that. I never wanted that pressure or that heat. And so trying to, balance that in the beginning of how we would actually have processes in place and systems to understand what we were doing and the licensing that it requires to make sure we were above board in all things. Because you don't want nobody to come knocking on your door like, oh, you got to shut this down, sis. You can't be doing this up out here. I didn't want that either. So it was the education, which I think a lot of people jump into entrepreneurship because social media makes it look fun, quick, and simple. But this is by far not a cupcake mix situation. You cannot just do these 3 steps and then boom, your overnight success. You have to put in the research, the work, the consistency, and the effort. And so we had to do all of that. And we jumped in head first from the beginning. And I think that was mainly because my mom's name was on it. Like, I highly esteem that. I highly esteem our family. I highly esteem her image, her reputation, and her legacy. And I didn't want it to be attached to anything that was failure, adjacent or whatever. I didn't want any of that. And so our biggest challenge for sure was the processes and the systems, the licensing and understanding all of the vernacular, and also really knowing what it meant to take it to the next level. Because at that point we knew we had something good, but we didn't know how we could convince the world that it was great. And so from there, we just had to continue to put ourselves out there, like show up at events that nobody would expect to see a pancake mix company at, right? We were at food and wine festivals, passing out pancake mix samples. We were, at farmers markets, we were setting up shop to get our name out there. And by, you know, the second or third time doing that, people were like, have we seen you on Shark Tank? And I'm like, no, you haven't, but you can buy these pancakes today, as if you did see me on Shark Tank. It just was growing. It was about growing the business organically. And I think that a lot of people now don't understand what that looks like, because they think starting social media and taking pictures makes you a brand. And that is not what this is. So it really was those stair steps. We had to take stair steps. And that was a challenge for us in the beginning. But then as we started to iron out things and more opportunities came our way, we realized that it really was no time to be perfect. It was just time for us to be prepared. And so there's a big difference. We realized that perfection wasn't the answer, but preparation was. So those systems and processes made us ready for big features, you know, by people like Tabitha Brown endorsing us, right? Less than a year in being in business, or GMA calling us to be on national television less than a year in business. That's what preparation did, not perfection.
Man, because I can go so many different places with that just that last statement. Yeah, like, so
not perfection, but preparation. That right there just needs to be on a t-shirt. Y'all go ahead and have that one.
Right. A year in. So a year in, you know, you're you know, you said that you got the Tabitha Brown endorsement, you got the GMA endorsement, and you know, all of a sudden, boom, you got all these orders. That preparation that you talk about. How do you I guess as an entrepreneur, how do you not get overwhelmed by the dream coming true in that moment?
The gift and the curse of entrepreneurship, right? Flat out, is the fact that you never dwell on any accomplishment too long. Now, that is something that I have found myself to be true, and still balancing and trying to figure that component out, as well as my peers, right? My entrepreneurial peers who have had even more success than we've had, right? It's always the next. It's always the momentum that you are keeping, and that you're not, I don't want to say you're chasing after anything, but you really are trying to build off of that energy and off of that intentionality that it requires for you to create more opportunity. Like, it is infectious. When we were on GMA, because again, we didn't get our own facility, our own warehouse. We didn't have a full-fledged team of nobody until we did Good Morning America. Up until that email from them, I was the sole employee. Making mix, I was filling bags, I was sealing bags, I was shipping orders, I was responding to customer emails, I was posting on social media. I was every element of the business except for the graphic and web designer. That was my husband. But logistically, it was all me. So that growth spurt that happened so quickly, I had to learn how to delegate and use that same intentionality that I took, that same discipline that I had, and I had to duplicate it into other people. I did not have time to gatekeep. I didn't have time to micromanage. I didn't have time to nitpick. I needed effort and intention from everyone that was a part of what we were doing. And so from there, you immediately jump into solution-based execution. Nothing is a complaint. Nothing is, oh, I think this will work. Everything will work. This is the answer. There is no backup plan, because we only doing this plan. This gotta work, because if it doesn't, the alternative is not favorable for us to exist. So I knew we couldn't fumble the ball, and I still continue to know that we can't fumble the ball, because what that does is it aligns us with, or for me at least, it aligns me with the element of doubt was able to overturn my determination, and I just can't let that happen. So every opportunity, every piece of exposure, every stepping stone, every new door, new store, whatever that looks like, I'm looking for the next one. I'm keeping that same energy and momentum for the next time, the next offer that's on the table. Can you guys do this? Yes, we can, because we did this in one day. So saying no back then, or taking time to take a rest and a breather, would have not set me up for the next opportunity and the next yes. So every yes leads to another one, and all of those yeses causes you to give your best in every experience, right? And so that's just the element in which we operate, where we don't I don't want to say we don't rest in or enjoy. We do take those minutes to breathe and enjoy. But when I tell you they real brief, they just so swift, Jesus. But we enjoy it. We love it. I like to say I work great under pressure. My husband's the same way. We always say that. We work great under pressure. Like if somebody were to call today and say that they want 5,000 products tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but if they want 5,000 products, let's say by next Monday, they don't have anything to worry about. It doesn't matter what we currently have in queue or what we're currently manufacturing for. You're about to get plugged into our manufacturing because I'm not telling you no. I'm not putting you on hold. I'm not making you go find somebody else that can accommodate you. We're getting it done because we already understand the process and the plan of it. So that's how we operate.
Absolutely.
I love that, how you were talking about that momentum. I heard an analogy from someone years ago when they were talking about the strongest man in the world competition, how they're pushing the car. And at the beginning, it's taking them a little bit of time and they get, using all their strength. And then after a while, they're up to a jog and then you running. But then once you let up a little bit, it's going to take even more energy to try to get that momentum back. So once you got that momentum, like you said, let that yes carry into the next yes. And it's beautiful. So you're talking about, all right, but for anybody who don't know, I meant to say this in the intro, Vicky Cakes ain't no slouch. Like they came in it, they kicked in the door when they hit the scene, and they've been hitting the ground running. So like you said, they've been on Good Morning America, Ebony, Food Network, Cosmopolitan, Dish, all these news outlets. With you being the sole logistical person at that time, talk about how GMA, Good Morning America, came about, and then how you were able to fulfill so many orders, because I know having that amount of exposure and how influential Good Morning America is, I know y'all saw an influx. So how did y'all handle that influx and not say no? Because I'm sure some entrepreneurs would have been like, you know what, maybe at that time y'all were able to fulfill them or not. Some people would be like, you know what, it's probably not our time to do that. But you said yes. So talk about that process for the people, please.
Yeah. So in 2020, this was literally right when the pandemic started, really. Now we had the Tabitha Brown feature in March, like the first week of March. She featured us, endorsed our product. We saw a huge boom right there. And I know that was God's, like, it was like, get on your mark, get set. Like that was the beginning of it, because there was an influx from that. And that was beautiful because it actually gave us a huge stamp of validation for being vegan, because before then we were marketing ourselves as a vegan company. But to have one of the largest progressive vegan influencers, right, endorse your product just really helped us to stake our claim in that space. Organically and respectfully, right? Nobody was questioning Tabitha Brown and still ain't questioning them. Right. So we came off of the heels of that with momentum, and we would get an email. I say like May, like the end of May, we got an email from ABC. So like the subject line said ABC and Vicky Cakes, like feature opportunity or whatever. And driving. Well, I'm at a red light, but I'm at a turning light, and I'm talking to my husband already on the phone, and I'm scrolling through my email, and I see the subject line, and so I was like, "Not today, Satan. You will not scam me." Okay, so I was about to delete the email. Like I didn't even read it. I didn't read none of it. Do you hear me? I read nothing. All I saw was the ABC and Vicky Cakes feature opportunity or whatever. And so I told my husband, I said, I don't know who this is. Talking about ABC. Whatever, and Vicky Cakes feature. And he was like, yeah, people out here doing the most, because by that time we had gained a lot of organic, exposure. And so people were reaching out to us. So like, just to be full-fledged honest, it wasn't like too far-fetched that I would think that it was just somebody popping off and just putting those two things together to get your attention. And so I was like, nah, I'm good. And so I would get home, and by the time like I got home and I was in the garage, she was like, well, forward me that email too before you come in the house. Just forward it to me and I'll take a look at it. And I was like, okay. And so I forwarded it to him. And by the time I get in the house, he was like, Christian, this is ABC for real. And I said, oh. And so it was legitimately the host of Deals and Steals, Tori Johnson. It was her assistant was reaching out to us, and in the proposal, like she laid it all out in the initial email. She didn't do none of that call me to let y'all know what we can do. She told us all, she gave us all the work right there, and I love that. I love when people tell you what they want when they reach out to you. Don't play hide and go seek in my email. Tell me, okay? Shout out to Jodeci. Tell me what you want. And so at that point, I was just like, oh my, this is okay. Let's talk about this. So me and Courtney actually started talking about it right then. Like they were talking about how many products we would need to have, the different shows we would have an option of choosing from. Like they gave us the option. They were like, you can go on Wendy Williams, you can go on The View, you can go on GMA, or you can go on GMA3. And GMA3 at the time was the show with Keke Palmer and Michael Strahan. And it came on after The View. And so, I mean, not The View, after the main GMA. And it gave us like the market numbers, like what each show does in numbers, viewership, and all of that. And so I was like, oh, snap. I'm still the only employee. What are we doing? Like, why are we even entertaining this email? Because we can't do none of what they listed right here. Like, we can't do 2,500 units. We can't do nothing. Okay, none of this. But I wasn't gonna say that. Like, it never crossed my mind to tell those people no. It was never an option. It didn't even cross my mind to say, could we do 500 units? No negotiation. Whatever you ask for, we can do it. Because at that time in my mind, I'm like, okay, we know where we're going to get our ingredients from in bulk. We had found a plug, even in the midst of the pandemic, when it was so hard to source any of these ingredients because everybody was stockpiling, right? We found a plug, like we found a connect. My husband found the Restaurant Depot, which we didn't even know existed, but it's like a grocery store. It's like a Sam's Club for restaurants. And since we have a manufacturing license, we were able to roll up and through there. We was just able to slap that card down the table and get all the flour we wanted, all the sugar we wanted, and nobody else was in there, okay? It was just us. And I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. So in my mind, I was already making it make sense how we were going to do it. And from there, we responded to the email. We got going with conversations. It started with them saying, well, we're just going to start you guys on GMA3, right? They have these many viewers. You guys can just put this much, inventory to the side for this. They don't really do as big numbers as GMA and The View, but we'll start you guys here. And from there, you guys can do GMA next. Because once you get a good relationship with these networks, they will keep you on their pocket.
Right.
Okay.
You'll be back all the time.
Yes. Because we've done GMA 3 times. So that was just the first sale, but we've gone on to do it 2 more times, and they've asked us several times since then, but we just been like, hold up, swallow them up, okay? Wait a minute. It got to make sense at all times. But so with this opportunity, we made them numbers make sense, right? We talked about it. We were like, okay, GMA3 is cool. We can just make 2,000 units available. What products do they want? So after we talked about bundles, what we could do, what would the price point be? We made it make sense. And it's funny because in their process, we were just like talking about, okay, like from this, what are we going to, like, we were already talking about leveraging the opportunity. How are we going to let this, like, use the money to get our own facility? It never was just about flossing and stunting and doing all of this. Put this back into that, because we need this to get bigger. If they found us off the strength of, I don't know, because to this day, they still like, well, we don't know where we found you guys. You don't have to tell me. It don't even matter. You found me and we're here now. And so from there, we just always saw forward thinking. Well, they would come back a couple of days later and say, Tori, which is the host, her assistant said, well, Tori actually saw you got, like, she went to your social media, looked up your brand, your website. She actually thinks you guys would be a good fit for GMA, like the main show. I'm on the phone like, no, something wrong with your lips and her eyes, because it ain't no way y'all think that I'm ready for GMA, right? I was cool with GMA 3. I was okay with my little 2,000 units. I did not have a problem with it. But then GMA became a bigger conversation, because now we're talking about 5,000 to 10,000 units. And let me be very clear here what this means, okay? We sell individual bags of pancakes. We're not talking about just one bag. We're talking about bundles. So they wanted 4 products in each bundle, okay? So that's 4 bags times 5,000. That's 5,000 bundles of 4,000 products total. That's 20,000 bundles. Yeah, that's 20,000 products for 5,000 bundles. And they wanted a 4-pack. So they wanted all of our flavors in one, and they wanted all original in another bundle. So now we're at 40,000 products. Okay. We're at 40,000 products, and we're at 10,000 overall units. Like, where is it coming from? Because we didn't have bags that were manufactured for us at the time. I still was buying regular white matte bags and putting labels on them. The entire process was labor intensive. I could have at any point jumped off of this locomotive. I didn't. I put on a seatbelt. I did not get off. I didn't say, no, maybe this will be a good fit in another year. Let's circle back and see where we are. No, we're not ready. We need investors. Never did I ever say no. Never. Never did I ever call on family and friends to help me finance it, fund it, or anything. Once they broke down how money would be deposited, I was like, oh, we can do this. You get money the day of the sale, not a week later, not 2 months later. As people place orders, your PayPal, here's a notification, right? So I'm like, okay, we just gonna flip that money while it's coming in. We're gonna go ahead, front load, put about 1,000K in ingredients up front. We had net 30s because we'd already been in business for about a year at this point. So we had net 30 accounts with Uline. We had net 30 accounts. So I'm like, with our printing company, U Printing, which is who we use for our labels at the time. I was like, we got net 30s with them. We got good amount, like they gave us 65, 10K at that time. So I was like, run it up. Right. Get all the labels, right? Like, get all of it. And so we did. We got all of it because I'm like, we're gonna be able to pay it off in 30 days, right? And it was beautiful. I'm getting excited myself. It was a beautiful experience because we were able to hire people. So it happened in the summer, which was awesome because kids were out. So we were able to reach out to friends that we knew down here in Dallas. Ask them if they had any cousins, any, teenagers who wanted a little side job or whatever. My living room was full of all of 15 folks. Okay. I had 15 folks in this house. Okay. And we made it work. We had people sealing bags. We had girls over here labeling in the living room. We had people filling at the counter. We had people in the dining room doing order fulfillment. We had storage upstairs in my kids' play area. No games were played because we said yes. Okay. And they wanted us to put 10,000 units on back order. So they wanted the front side to have the 5,000 units. And then they wanted us to put more on the back end. So that way, if we run out, which we did, we definitely sold out. Okay. We sold out in less than an hour and a half. We didn't even make it through the whole day before it was gone. They actually had to cut off the East Coast from ordering because they aired earlier than the rest of the world, right? So they were an hour ahead and they was tearing it up, okay? And I wasn't mad about it. I was in my kitchen crying. I was crying for 2 reasons. For one, I ain't got this shit. Okay? I ain't got it. I don't have it.
What is we gonna do?
What we gonna do? Y'all running up these numbers. Wow. I don't have it. COVID is outside. I'm in here crying. Y'all want this pancake mix? We gonna do it. I was crying out of excitement, out of joy, out of just happiness. And it was beautiful. And so from there, we literally just ramped up. We scaled. We got to the point where my husband converted the ingredients. Like we went from being able to make, 20 bags in one batch to he was like, nah, give me your mama recipe again so I can go run this through Excel and multiply this because you're doing this in too many small batches. And so that's how we learned how much we can do. That's how we figured out our capacity in the moment. So that we could turn over quickly and get more done. And from there, it was great momentum, right? But that feature was on Tuesday. And by Friday, my husband tested positive for COVID. Okay? It don't get no realer to find out that you are living with the enemy. Now, I don't know. At that point, I don't know what really came over me because that's when I felt so much guilt. I felt so much pressure. I was scared, but I was never uncertain, right? I felt guilt. I felt pressure. I never accepted failure. Makes sense. I knew that we had to still fulfill what we said that we would fulfill. What we had sold, I wanted to show up for that and do it. And it was crazy because we had to clear it out. This was at the height of the pandemic where people were afraid. People were dying. And so it was no joke. There was no vaccine. Everybody had to quarantine for the full 2 weeks. There was nothing we could do about it. We'd already gotten out thousands of orders. Thank God for that. We were able to get all of our front end orders out. And I am so grateful for that. That was over 5,000 orders. No, let me take that back. That was over 10,000. It was over 10,000 orders we were able to get out on the front end. And I don't know how we did it other than God himself and goodness and mercy. Because my husband was upstairs in quarantine laying on a mattress because we had to like separate him from the rest of the house. All of our workers, we had to send all them kids home. Everybody had to go home. And it was down to me and my sister. Me and my sister got out the rest of the remaining orders to GMA customers from my house because I didn't test positive. I did not have it. My sister did not have it, but he did. And so we sent him upstairs and we kept going. We let ABC know. We did full communication. This is why like I am so authentic and so transparent, because there's no need to be out here keeping information from people. Like people need to hear this side of the beauty that they see on social media, because this is what makes you like, this is the part where nobody else can break you after this. Cause it's like, what you doing? Like people thought my husband was gonna die upstairs and I was still right. I didn't shut it down. And they gave us the door. Like they were like, if you guys want us, we can just send out an email. We can just let everybody know what happened. We'll draft up an email for you. And I was like, no, you won't.
No,
you will not draft up an email for me. No, thank you. like I prayed. I didn't pray for COVID, but I prayed for this opportunity. Yep. And I'm not seeking it out. And they were so nice. They were so kind. We did send out an email and let people know what was going on, but their order would still come for our back orders, because we had over 5,000 back orders, right? We did let them know that they had the option. We actually released them. We released the back orders. We decided not to go ahead and try to fulfill those, even though we had 3 weeks plus to do that. They gave us an extra 3 weeks on the back order side. I just didn't want to have that pressure, not knowing where my team would be, because we weren't even in day 2 of the quarantine period that they had to take. So even if they did the 2-week quarantine, they would only give us a week to produce over another 20,000 products, and it just wasn't going to make sense. So we released the back orders with the promise to come back on in October and offer the sell again, which we did. And that's how we were able to get back all of those customers. And people were so kind. People were so understanding. People were so supportive. And that's the element for me where I didn't allow that fear or that failure to creep in, where I felt as if though like something bad had happened, or this was not really the blessing that it had portrayed itself to be on the front end. No, it was always that. Always giving that we were winning. It was never giving that it was an option to bow out or to, like people understand, they won't have to understand because we're still going to do it.
Right.
So yeah, that's how we got to GMA, and that's the backstory behind it. So I'm sorry for taking up y'all time.
No, I'm gonna say you went from having the Carter in your living room to them coming in and disbanding it and everything, man. I ain't know all that. Wow.
Yeah. Like, so, you mentioned the customers, like what type of customer is a Vicky Cake customer?
Oh yes, our avatar, as they call them now in the CPG industry. What is your avatar? Our ideal Vicky Cake customer is definitely family oriented. The demographic, specifically women between the ages of 25 and 45, is our target customer, with a family, a homeowner, right? A working class individual who likes to entertain, who likes to cook for their family, who is a shopper, who is an intentional shopper, who pays attention to the information that's on the front and the back of the bag, who cares about what the ingredient is, who cares about what the sourcing capabilities are of the company and all of the claims, right? Someone who also is strong in values and strong and solid on their foundation socially, who care about being either not just so much as trending, but also like current in the fact that things are progressive, like understanding that trending has its place, but being progressive in thought and in action, as well as when you're building out something that is from a generational like trade and pass down. People who care about that, where there's weight there. Our ideal Vicky Cakes customer is someone who loves food, but also understands that quality matters too. So cheap just ain't always like the best, right? You actually invest in what you eat and you care about it and you share it. Like when you taste something good, you dance and then you tell your friends. Like that's the Vicky Cakes customer. And if
Food
you're
for the soul.
enjoying it and they act, yeah, food for the soul. And if you got friends that you know ain't tech savvy or don't like to put their debit card information on Beyonce's internet, you order it for them. That's the Vicky Cakes customer. So we're all about sharing, not just at the table, but beyond the table. And that's why we care so much about what we do and how we market and who we target and how we just stay connected throughout the entire process and experience with our products.
Take note of that, people, because a lot of times people say, well, who's your idea? Who's your target market? Who's your customer? You just outlined specifically and intentionally who this person is, their spending habits, like what they do in their spare time. Like, even though anybody can eat pancakes, you don't want to just say, oh, well, anybody can eat it, so we're going to target these people. You were very intentional and specific on who this ideal customer is. So key, so key. So I guess a follow-up question to that would be, how do you, what are some marketing strategies you've used to target that specific market, especially when it comes to, you know, pancakes?
Okay, so I think on the trending side of things, it is important to remain relevant. Now, our email customers, our email base is different from our social media. Okay. Now, email, we all nice and sending out questions and recipes and, you know, giving table talk prompts for you to discuss with your family. And then on social media, it's what's trending. It's what's current. It's what's relevant. It's what people just saw. If it's an award show that just came on, right? It's making your products look like that, or putting your product or photoshopping your product in the hands of someone that just won an award or something like that. Or if you want to convey it to both your social media and your email and market specifically and directly to things that are relevant and that matters, and that's cool. We love and we specialize in the combination of products, like combining products, giving people deals, really making them feel like they're getting value for what it is that they're experiencing and what they're investing in. Because when people shop with you and buy from you, I just need people to know that is an investment. That is somebody else's money that they are putting into your whatever it is, whatever product or service that you're offering. And so you have to look at it that way, where it's not just transactional, but it actually has to be mutually beneficial for whoever is engaging with or supporting you. And so what my most favorite radical thing that we did was we did like a versus battle sale, right? So we all know about the versus, how big it was during the pandemic between different artists. We literally took the graphics and all of that, like what the logo looked like with the V, and we did like our classics, our classic mixes versus our short stack collection, right? So you get like the best of both worlds and mix and match these flavors, like having the different, you know, colors on, coinciding colors on the background, and really making it something that's relevant where people are like, oh, I like that one. I want this one. And let's put these two together. And I like this one more than that one, so I ain't gonna pick those. But now you're giving people the option, but you're also bringing in the trending side of it, where they're like, oh yeah, I know for this one, SWV versus a statement, you know, Monica versus Brandy. That's the relevant element where you don't have to be like too, I don't want to say too culturally heavy where people won't relate, but you tie it into where no matter who it is that you're marketing to, they get the simplicity of it. And if they later on down the line Google or see something with versus, they're like, oh yeah, Vicky Cakes did something like this. That's what you want. You want that relevancy where people will talk about it way beyond when you did it because it was just that impactful.
And whole time being true to yourself too, not chasing and just doing something trendy, because you see that a lot of times, you know, people doing TikTok dances and all. No offense to that, but if that's not you, people, it doesn't come across as authentic. So you see a lot of people not being themselves when they do that, and y'all have always been true to yourself. So tip my cap to y'all for that.
Thank you.
I guess how does Vicky Cakes innovate other than just being known for pancakes? Is there anything in the tap, or is there anything like any ways that Vicky Cakes can innovate to be not necessarily more competitive, but to kind of corner the market even more, corner that space, that area, that space even more?
Absolutely. There is always space to evolve and to take things up a notch. What I would definitely say is the advantage that we have, right, socially and economically, and as well as just overall in the category, is the fact that we're Black owned. Okay. Now, we cannot just glaze and gloss over that. Like, we literally don't know who own the other things, the other brands that we're talking about. Majority of them, we have no clue who runs them, what they look like, what they do, what they care about, or any of that. Their bottom line is what's literally driving them to expand or to create something new. For us,
regardless of the face that they show too, though, we don't know who owns it, but a lot of times our face might be on it, but we don't know if we own it. I just want to put that in there real quick.
No, yes, because that was one of the biggest things that definitely drove us and continues to drive us passionately for Quaker, with the rebranding of Aunt Jemima. But that's a totally different interview, Jesus. But with that being said, for the innovation side for us, it is about listening to our consumer. Customers who love our products and enjoy our products buy anything that we put out there. Literally, there is literally nothing that we can drop that people are not going to buy once it is sold, like once it's available. Whether we tease it, whether we tell them to prepare for it, we very seldomly actually do like teasers of new things coming out. We just drop stuff. Because at this point, you've probably already asked for it or you've already been desiring it, and we're just that connected to actually create it. The innovation, like even with our short stack collection, that was a pivot because our bags are, what people know and what people are used to, but we have a long wait time on our bags. I don't like that. I don't like people playing with my timeline. I don't want to be on your timeline, respectfully, right? Until I figure out how to manufacture bags and get the money to create my own machine that's just sending that Vicky Cakes to print bags, right? I have to use you, okay? So now I have a 3 to 4 week lead time. When we got design ready, right? We got ingredients, we've sourced everything we need. We're ready to market it and put it out there. But I got to be on a 1 to 2 month rollout because of you. I think not. We're not doing that. So sourcing and deciding to be innovative and have a short stack collection because pancakes are referred to as short stacks, right? So understanding that, being like quick-witted and thoughtful, I was like, Courtney, I just came up with a way for us to shoot out as many flavors as we want to throughout the year, okay? Came up with the idea literally in May of 2022. By the end of 2022, we launched 12 new products because of that idea. Like we expanded our SKUs in like exponentially because we weren't on anyone else's timeline. We were able to put new flavors out there in the market: cookies and cream, banana pudding, strawberry shortcake, pumpkin spice, and then our forever loved and fan favorite gingerbread, which we do every holiday season. But when you're up against other people's lead time and their clocks, you put yourself up against a wall for just how much you can expand and grow. And beyond that point, like now with our gluten-free line, we're getting ready to expand our entire gluten-free line to just not include original, as it has only done since 2019. Now we're building on that demand and that interest to not just be a gluten-free product, but also a vegan product. There are not a lot of gluten-free, vegan-friendly mixes on the market. So that gives us a corner space, like that gives us the space to have blueberry, pecan, and chocolate chip. What other gluten-free pancake mixes got all them flavors included? None. And they're as delicious as ours. None. People are constantly in our emails complaining about that gluten-free, the other ones before they found ours, what it tasted like cardboard. Like we take note of that, but we don't rush the expansion and the growth. We had to solidify our place where we are now with the traditional, the basic, right? That people are familiar with, replace that in their minds first, and then roll out more that makes them feel comfortable and confident with anything we do. We're also going to launch some cornbread mixes, like quite keep it on the low, but cornbread mix is coming up next. Like we have a fire cornbread mix recipe that is my mom's as well, but I am going to elevate that to include other flavors because we're not just rolling out one. I do mine I like bundles, okay? Just like Black women like bundles. Bundle me. Because what that does is that increases your ticket value, like your order value, your average order value. So if I'm just rolling you out one here, one there, nope. You always gonna see me roll it out in multiples, 3s, whatever, because that increases people's desire to try everything all at once and fall in love and order more. So that's just how we are innovative that way. Even with our sugar-free syrups that we're going to be launching this year, that's also something that people have been demanding and wanting. People who may be diabetic, they don't like, I love your syrup, but I can only eat so much. Not a problem, sis. we got you. And we don't have to wait, for the industry to say it's okay to do it, or for a retailer to give us approval to do it. We're going to roll it out because our customers want it. They desire it. They're demanding it. And they expect us to actually show up when they make those kind of requests, and there's actual interest behind it. So for us, innovation is literally just an invitation to go all the way up.
Yes. And they all good. All the flavors is good. Get the bundles. Like if you haven't tried Vicky Cakes, I gotta run and get my bag right quick just to show y'all we ain't capping on here. Like me and my family, we rock with Vicky Cakes heavy.
We appreciate that. We really do.
So we were talking about being a Black-owned brand. Let's not gloss over that. Proud Black woman-owned brand. The food industry as a whole, how was being a Black woman-owned brand kind of difficult? I mean, because you said there were some people that came before you. Obviously, you're not the first to do this, but you're definitely forging a new path for people that look like you coming after. What are some difficulties you had with getting on Amazon? Because people can find you on Amazon online, Walmart online, some retail stores. What were some challenges for you to break into that industry? And then also, how can the food industry do better about being more diverse and inclusive, in your opinion?
The good thing about Amazon and Walmart.com, with enough research and like commitment to the process, because it ain't easy. They don't make it easy to get on there, right? They want you to do it their way. We actually started Amazon through FBA, where we were actually sending them our product to fulfill for us. It just was eating into our profit margin. Like, we were on there getting bullied, okay? We were essentially by Jeff Bezos and them, because they was taking all the profits, and I ain't like that. And so we had to make the switch effectively and efficiently, like quickly. It's one thing to be in business and to do things just to say you're doing it. Don't do that. Like, we have got to stop like championing people struggling through. Like, that don't have to be a part of your chapter. There's an alternative to the struggle if you just want to sign up for that instead. And staying on Amazon FBA for us would have remained a struggle, because we would have been putting money behind all of that. We would have been giving product away for free, essentially, just to say we were Amazon FBA and have that Prime sticker. And ultimately, what we decided to do within 2 months' time was to pull our products. Like, after we sold out, we had a couple of units left. I think it was like 10 units. They sent it back to us, and we were like, yeah, we're not doing this no more. And we're going to do seller fulfilled. So there's an option. There's an alternative to FBA. You can still be on Amazon, but just fulfill it yourself as quickly as Amazon fulfills it. You place an order with us on Amazon, we ship it either same day or the next morning, right? Like, that's at the very least, the longest you're going to wait for us on Amazon. We're Amazon's choice. Like, all of our products have been Amazon's choice, which simply means that in that category, in that space, for people looking for that product, they favor it, right? It meets all the requirements. You're good on the quality of your product. You're efficient with getting things out quickly. There is no return. Like, our return rate is 0%. Ain't nobody ever returned nothing to us from Amazon. And we've been selling on Amazon since 2020. So we don't have that kind of experience where it's a negative experience. It's just that the money side had to make more sense for us to be able to just tout that title. It had to add up, right? I'd rather pay you $1.54 a bundle just for my listing being there, versus having to pay you all this extra stuff because somebody went and picked it, and then somebody packed it, and then y'all chose what shipping it should be, and y'all may choose some exorbitant amount of shipping costs, and I got to eat that. I'm gonna ship it at the lowest, right? But still the fastest. And y'all may just be like, oh, we want to get it that next day. I didn't ask for all that. So if shipping now cost me $17 and my bundle was $14.99, y'all do the math. I get nothing.
Right.
And I'm not interested in that. So that's why we just had to make that swap out. And that's something that people have to be cognizant of when they're researching these platforms and knowing what the benefit of them are, like how you can leverage being on there. You can use those logos anywhere you want to once you're a seller on there. It doesn't have to be Prime. You just need to be like present and know what the benefits are. Walmart the same way. Love Walmart. Super great platform to sell on. We've enjoyed it. Definitely have gotten, you know, a lot of good feedback. Actually, I've talked to the buyer, the category buyer for breakfast from Walmart.com in February during Black History Month. And she was super nice, super great, you know, looking over our analytics, very complimentary about that. Would you guys like for us to fill it for us? No, I would not like you to do that for me. Not right now, unless you're trying to take my product in for free and do it. We have to understand how to negotiate and leverage our success in other areas. The success that we've had in other areas, we now leverage that when we talk to these people to where they don't feel like they're doing anything for us. I'm doing something for you. Let's be very clear here. So all of my engagement and all of our interaction comes from that space of it needs to be mutually beneficial. It needs to make sense long term, because we don't want to be a flash in the pan. And also, like, just long term in general, I think as a woman-owned business and brand, we think about diversity and inclusion, not realizing that sometimes that stamp can kind of be a handicap if you're in certain spaces where they just need to meet a quota and they just want to get you in there to say you're there, but it doesn't actually benefit you on the other side of that if you're struggling to maintain those spaces. So for us, it's always a conversation of, where does this put Vicky Cakes in the grand scheme of things? Like, how does this benefit us? Is it going to cause the e-commerce side to suffer? Because now we have all of these new POs from retail, but they don't pay out for 30 or 45 days. When e-commerce pays me same day, you hit place order, right? So you have to be able to weigh that. And I think these are conversations that we're not having often enough amongst ourselves, as amongst women-owned or Black-owned businesses. We need to understand that it may look good, but it needs to actually be good. And that can, you know, essentially be a challenge if you want more exposure and more footprint and brand awareness in this space. So that would be my biggest thing about the food and beverage industry and what we've been doing thus far and how we plan on scaling and growing. All of these elements are part of our future, but they have to consistently make space for us to actually like leverage and grow as we're there long term.
Right. Don't don't walk in there having them thinking like you looking for a handout. They need to be honored that you are in that room with them because you putting them on. Like, you are Vicky Cakes. And a lot of entrepreneurs need to have that posture when they walk into these rooms. You know, you're in that room for a reason. I know a lot of times we'll get in our own head when you're in certain spaces and just being honored and humbled to be in that space. But no, take up that space. You're in that space for a reason, you know, regardless of.
And it's important for us to remember that you are literally bringing all your people with you.
Yes. Talk about that.
Our customers that we know go up for us, they're about to start coming to you to get us. So if the exchange needs to be whereas we're paying for customer acquisition through marketing and ad spend, we're about to literally send all our people to you.
Facts.
To understand that by that means that they have easier access. They can get Vicky Cakes quicker on Saturday, right? Instead of having to wait 3 to 5 business days to get it. They can get it that day, but they're no longer on my site. So now I've given them to you, and I need to make sure that I'm actually benefiting from that, because you're not benefiting from my hard work. Yes, your stores are great. Yes, they've always existed, but now we're switching up the way and the volume of which people are actually engaging with our product, and not to mention the new people. We don't get to retain those customers by any data means. So with our website, when people go to our ads or go to our website, we get to keep up with them. We get to track them. We get to see how they shop and what they're trending, you know, what sites they visit or how long they stay on this page. Or people, you know, we found that 46% of people who got original also added original syrup. Now we can like give them offers and promos to their email. When they come to the store, we don't know what they bought. We don't know if they enjoyed Vicky Cakes or if they came back. Those are your customers. But if I'm sending you mine, it got to line up every time. It got to make sense. So it definitely is important to know like what your position is and your power in these conversations to make sure that it makes sense for you.
Facts. You talked about how you came into this space, didn't have any entrepreneurial background per se, but you knew people that were, you know, running businesses and whatnot. What past experiences can you lean on and draw upon in things you've done before? I know you were a radio host before and did some other things, but even though you didn't have the entrepreneur hat, what experiences did you draw on in life that help you run this enterprise that is Vicky Cakes? Just so people, oh, well, no, I don't have this degree or I don't have this background, because we do that all the time, especially in our culture. We'll get in our own way a lot of times, but not realizing that those experiences and those hardships that we had in the past better equipped us to be in certain spaces and to do certain things. So talk about some of your experiences and how those have helped you while I run get this bag of Vicky Cakes, because I need to put it on camera.
Okay. The things that definitely helped me, the quality, the skills, the experiences, the number one thing I will say that helped me, because it was such a big part of my upbringing in my life, would be church, which probably would be funny for some people, like, girl, what they got to do? Listen, people skills, like understanding and communicating with people in church. The ability really to connect with people based off of what their beliefs are. And I majored in psychology, so it's all about the mind to me. Like, I care about what people are thinking. I care about how people think, what makes them respond or react. Like, experiences are the greatest teacher, not words. So if you haven't really lived and had to overcome stuff or figure things out, you're going to be at a disadvantage. There we go.
They here, we wasn't capping.
You're going to be at a disadvantage if you haven't really had to have life experience with that. And in church specifically, I just saw a lot of people with a lot of different experiences. My mom being, by and large, my greatest teacher and example. The servanthood in life. Like, my mom is a server. She is a server to a fault, where I would like to put an end to it. Like, okay, you didn't get enough. Okay, like, at this point, let us serve you. But that servant heart. And as an entrepreneur now, I understand, like, back in the day when I was younger, 18, 19, whatever, I didn't explain myself to nobody. As an entrepreneur, you can explain yourself to everyone. You need to know everything at all times to give clarity and understanding and bring comfort to those who you want to believe in you. Let's be very clear. You don't get to skate past anything or any experience as an entrepreneur and think that you don't owe anyone an explanation. Because in business, I have to explain why my product is superior, right? I have to explain the origin and the story behind it. I have to explain why it's a better option, or why the competitors aren't as good as Vicky Cakes, or what makes us stand out. I have to explain the experience that you can expect to have. I have to set expectations. I don't just get to say, try it and you will see.
Right.
No, that's not selling anything.
Right.
So everything in that past experience with church and being a leader in church and in ministry, singing on praise and worship team, getting people, like, in the emotion and in the feeling of it all, you have to be able to do that. Definitely being a people person, but listening, like being a listener, being an active listener, not a responder. Not an emotional responder, but being an active listener, and then taking intentional action after that. As an entrepreneur, I now have to utilize those skills. I had to do it when I was in radio. I had to do it when I was in school getting my degree. I had to do it when I was in church. I had to do it when I worked at call centers. You have to listen to people. And if you don't listen, you will eventually lose your captive audience, because nobody wants to feel as if though they're talking to no one, or as if they're talking down an empty pipe or to an empty room. So that's why I take constructive criticism, even if it wasn't meant to be constructive. I only take it that way. I don't take nothing personal anymore, because I understand we're now a public brand, and I have to remind myself of that every once in a while. I'm like, oh, people gonna talk to you like that. People gonna jump to conclusions quickly, because you're a public brand. They don't do that for things they don't care about or see often. But as you grow and get bigger, so does that platform and that access for you to kind of get a little bit more slack or a little more feedback that may not be favorable, but you don't let that stop you. You allow that to help you get better. So all of those past experiences, all of those things where it could have been character flaws for me, became my strengths, right? All of the weaknesses of my competitors, recalls on products, things that people called out in the media, had a problem with, people had pushback, they had to release PR statements or change whole names of companies, right? That became strength. I'm able to size up what you got going on and make sure I'm follow in your footsteps. I actually improve, get better, be a better answer and solution. So definitely being cognizant of what's going on around me, using our people skills, listening to other people, taking sound advice and wisdom, and applying it with inspired action and being intentional for sure has definitely helped me in this journey of entrepreneurship. And I'm excited about where it's going to take me.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, man. So I want to say thank you. You know, get some daggone pancakes off your head, bro.
I mean, get them. I only have 2 bags left. I only got 2 blueberry. We need to get some more original. So yeah, these will be
got to restock the site.
So yeah.
Well,
Thank
so
you.
if you could tell Mr. Nate where he can go get
I need more.
get those delectable pancakes from, please.
Don't tell me he know the website.
Everybody else.
But you can go to VickyCakesOnline.com to get your Vicky Cakes pancake and waffle mixes, your syrups, your clean label syrups, no high fructose corn syrup. None of that junk is in our bottles or in our mixes. We're keeping it fresh and clean and safe just for you and your family, so you don't feel guilty when you're feeding them something that's quick and easy to enjoy at your table. You can also find us on Amazon.com and Walmart.com. We're in a host of small format grocery stores across the U.S. So go to our website and click on the store locator app, little button, and you'll be able to see like where we are in some other states as well. And we're also in 186 Jewel Osco locations across the Chicagoland area. And we're super excited to expand and grow into more of your faves any day now. So check us out and stay up to date on what we have going on.
There you have it. There you have it. Last shout out. So we're starting a segment right now, called. I know. I told Christian about it, but
Here we go.
it's called. Everybody in our community, when they say, "Okay, I see you," it's a term of endearment and appreciation, and shout out. And an extraordinary investment group we have for years now. Shouted out Black businesses. We say every Friday is Black Friday, so we're always intentional about shouting out Black businesses. So, what's another entrepreneur, creative, someone that's in the Black community that you could look at and give them their flowers right now and shout out right now and say, "Okay, I see you."
Yeah, yes. The top one that comes to mind for me would have to be Ashley Rouse of Trade Street Jam Co. It is a phenomenal jam company that is gourmet as well. Like it is a deliciously layered, flavored jam. It's not your average, whatever we used to use, jelly, jam, whatever you want to call it. But these are really good recipes that are formulated by Ashley. She is a chef and she's done her study, she's done her work. And she's definitely out here doing great things. So I am definitely sending love and shout outs to her. Never met her in person. This is the thing about social media, like over the last 3 or 4 years, it's just beautiful. The community that we've all been able to tap into from people that you don't have to grow up with. You don't have to know. It's cool to know them, like definitely build your tribe around you. But I think that during the pandemic, a lot of us as entrepreneurs and small business owners being featured in so many different places together, we were able to become aware of each other and then like start communicating and just DMing each other. The lines were no longer blurred where it's like competition or whatever. Like, I don't want to talk to you or know who you think you are. No, the playing field was equal for all of us. Okay. We was excited and we've been grateful for all of this success and the exposure that we've gotten equally for each other. And so definitely I've seen Ashley doing some great things and she continues to scale and soar. And I wish her many, many more years of success in the industry. But Trade Street Jam Co. is definitely getting a shout out from me.
Trade Street Jam Club, Ashley Rouse. Okay, I see you. Christian, yes, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. You sharing these gems with our listeners at Extraordinary Investment Group and the Extraordinary Exchange Podcast. You told everybody where they can find you.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think that's all we got. What else we got, Case?
Man, just look out for us. Look out for Vicky Cakes. I'm gonna purchase me some so I could cook some this weekend. Yeah, Yeah.
You'll love them. You won't be disappointed. It's several gentlemen in our investment group. It's 12 of us, but several of us have been fans of Vicky Cakes, and we found you online, started consuming you, then you found us online as we started sharing comments, and like you were speaking about, how social media over the last few years has kind of made the world a lot smaller, and we're all locking arms with each other and doing amazing things like this and providing value for the community. So thank y'all all for listening. Again, thank you for being here. And
thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to many more opportunities to share, grow, and to be a part of this community together as we uplift one another.
It's coming. All right, people, we appreciate y'all for listening. We'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.